listening to DORiS Radio.
You're listening to DORiS Radio on WHCP.
You're listening to DORiS Radio on WHCP.
DORiS Radio.
DORiS Radio.
Welcome back, guys. You're listening to DORiS Radio on WHCP 101.5, and we're joined today with Katie Clendaniel. We just heard California Stars, the Woody Guthrie cover by Wilco, and we got two more tracks coming up. But first, we want to go into... I see you got the Patagonia on today.
Oh, yeah.
And we were talking about hiking last night.
Yeah.
And I wonder, do you have any, like, playlist for, traveling to go hike or while you're hiking?
A playlist for on the way or while I'm doing it? No, I mean, anytime you're doing anything, you're just trying to find what's going to work for that group of people or on your own. The cool thing is when you're on your own, you get to do whatever the heck you want to do.
Yes.
You don't have to please everybody. But no, I don't have any particular soundtrack to those things, but I think they are good opportunities to explore other music that you may not get a time in your day or a chance to really relax into, because I feel like we had more time and space in our lives, either when we're younger or years ago when there's less going on. We have a lot of distractions now, and so finding that new music is something you have to create space in your life for. So I think when you're doing something like that, or you're in the car, that's your time to follow up on that and do that. So
creating space for it. I like that. You got to be intentional about it now.
Yeah. Like, I'm very interested in new music, but you have to be exposed to it.
Yeah.
And that's the great thing about radio. When I was
hearing
growing up, like, you heard the new music on the radio, and sometimes it was a hit and sometimes it wasn't, but you're getting exposed. You get the exposure. Yeah. My friend Dr. Donna, I love listening to her show because I get to hear a lot of new stuff and that I haven't, particularly old stuff that's new to me. So I get a little bit more better understanding of that genre of music. So.
She's always finding like those live recordings that are like super rare. All her show is vinyl, and so I love that because you'll hear things that, like, even if they make it to streaming, sometimes they don't put all, especially with older artists, if they weren't as big, they don't put all of the different versions of that music, and then that can get lost. And so she's so good about like finding those super rare, like it was recorded once and printed 12 times, and then somehow they pulled it out of the. She's like an archivist of all these different bands, and it's like, I love that, like hearing a different version of a song, early version, late version. It's like,
and I think the whole conversation around, like you said, like different versions of the same song performed live, because I am so, you get accustomed to that track that gets produced. And then, are we accustomed to listening to music and its variation performed live? And sometimes people get disappointed when they go to a live show, maybe because the song isn't quite,
they want it to sound
it's not
like
that
what
track.
they were listening to on
but it's
iPod.
how much work does it take to get that track? It's a lot of time. And live, I always loved people like, Wilco and Dave Matthews and all these other people, I used to go and see, because they are, jamming on the fly. And
jam bands.
When you're into music and you played music or whatever, like you really appreciate the talent and all of that. And that's what you get really into at the live show. So
that's magic, seeing how they're able to be synced up with each other, switching up on the fly, and then but also they can just like change up the pace, the tone, switching a song on being
they have
on
to
edge.
read each other. I love that about. I wish I was a better musician, but because that takes a lot of talent to just make that switch.
Yeah, man.
So I'm not that talented.
Of course you are. I'll
be the groupie.
When was the last time you bumped the French horn?
Oh gosh, it's been a long time.
That could be a way to reconnect. Gotta
And
pull
you
that thing out.
there was a time that I was looking at trying to buy a French horn, but those things are for the double French horn, which is what I played. In 2004, 2005, when I last looked at it, they're $6,000. So, yeah, it was not in the budget.
Dang, man. Well, shoot.
Yeah.
That still don't mean you probably got some musical performances that you still,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
bump
Yeah.
out some guitar.
I wish I didn't have so much stage fright because I did used to sing and stuff like that. I'm not an exceptional singer at all, but there's still a little part of me that's like, yeah, like that
Gotta
would be
do
fun
it,
to have
man.
that one song, you know.
Yes.
So yeah,
Have you ever?
but I like all this other stuff that nobody nobody appreciates or nobody knows for, it's not exactly karaoke music.
I feel like that's the more reason to have it recorded. Having your something that you're genuinely represents you recorded. Because then
Yeah.
there's other people who are going to be looking for that sound, and then they'll be like,
Yeah.
oh, look, this is something that I really connect with.
Yeah.
And it's
yeah.
like, that's why we got to get those out there. It also ends to why we need all the different versions of those songs out there.
Yeah.
Because there's somebody who was like interested into the same things that we think are weird.
Yeah.
And quirky.
Yeah, yeah. And that was always the cool thing about some of these venues that were local was there was that space
Yep.
for that performance, that type of performance. So I think that's definitely missing in our society today. Those smaller, we have a lot of great performers that perform locally, but they're performing the songs too that everybody is used to hearing. So they play the
jam
song.
band is
Yeah.
the-
Yeah.
That's the vibe. Like,
Yeah. Playing all the alternative stuff.
I think about I was watching something about the Doors, and it was more so about Jim Morrison's death, but just in the way they were discussing how the bands were touring at that time. This drummer is playing in this band and this band and this band and this guitarist.
Yeah, they're moving around.
They're just switching. They all know each other's songs. Like
They're all in 5 bands.
Yeah, it was crazy. I'm like,
Yeah.
you're getting a different, because like that different drummer might play that song a different way, and it's like that whole little mix up of things. And it's like I'll read those, like a lot of on the cassettes, they'll have like the concert and the date that it was performed on the side of it, and just listening to that and seeing who was performing that song that time, and you're getting a whole different feel, a different experience out of it.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah, I feel like we need more of that now. More of that.
Definitely. Yeah.
There's less opportunity to tour now, but even just the music production in general is very separate.
Yeah.
Even if you're super successful, like it's mostly just sending tracks to each other, sending a verse instead of really being in the room together to vibe together and catch a feeling.
Yeah.
I think that was where the real magic was.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll start our book and music
Yes. Oh, book
store. We'll combo it up.
Let's go into that. What we were talking about bookstores last night. Loved like going into like we were talking Red Emma's and Barnes and Noble and just reading books and how much we missed that. So we got a book club that's happening.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
Hell
I
yeah.
decided this morning. I
Yes.
was like, it's gonna happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
What is a book that has been made an impact on you that just comes to mind on the fly?
Well, I'm Marco. My favorite book is I'm a Jane Austen fan, so
Come
Pride
on.
and Prejudice.
Give me the romance. I'm hearing the
I
romance.
know. I
Yes.
know. I'm such a nerd.
No, I love Pride and Prejudice. What do you love about
Yeah.
Pride and Prejudice?
Well, the characters are amazing. So Elizabeth and Mr. Darcy are like they have reproduced that story so many times in different ways. Bridget Jones' Diary, that is Pride and Prejudice,
Yup.
you know.
A reimagining.
Yeah, it was a
That's-
modern day storytelling of that same story. And, she really knew what she was doing, Jane Austen did.
Yes. Yeah. She did it over and over again. I'm just like, she was hit after hit after hit. When we think about that as for a modern day author, like that's crazy.
Yeah, and her characters come across incredibly clear. you can hear in your head the dialogue that's coming through on the pages. And that's the other powerful thing about her writing, you know. And so I named my daughter for Darcy Elizabeth. Yes.
So she's named after Pride and Prejudice?
She is named after Pride
and Prejudice. Darcy Elizabeth. Oh,
yes.
man, I never knew that.
Yes, she is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the cheesy side of Katie.
I love that, man.
But we were talking last night, and I like a lot of nonfiction, you know. A really powerful book. Well, I love Ernest Hemingway as well. For nonfiction, he's amazing. Again, very powerful, descriptive, clear writing. Now, sometimes he does go on and on and on a little bit much for me for certain segments, but like he was the writer for a generation. And when I was young, I read a lot of Anne Rice as well. And Anne has that, to me, she has that same clarity of voice, you know. So I couldn't get into the vampire thing.
I was about to say she was the gothic horror novelist, right?
Yeah, she wrote. Yeah, I won't. She wrote a lot of stuff. Yeah, she's prolific.
Interview with the Vampire.
Interview with the Vampire, and I did go back and reread that after I read it as a teenager. And that was a big movie. I mean, that made Brad Pitt. You know, one of the movies that made him. And yeah, but I got into. She has like a whole witch series, and she's got a number of other, you know, book series. And what I like about her is, again, she, you know, we were talking about nonfiction that fiction that wraps in history. Yeah. And so I learned a lot of things because she wraps that up into her narrative,
incorporating into the story.
Yeah.
I love that, you know, and she's not. You know, we talked about, you know, having the opportunity to have those discussions about books. She's not someone that came to mind when I think of like the character writing, like how I thought I think of Ernest Hemingway and Jane Austen in that sense as well. And so that makes me want to go back and revisit her work as well, because all I've read is an Interview with the Vampire. Yeah. And I couldn't get into the gore of the vampire stuff because I'm a big chicken. Ask anybody who's had to go see a movie with me. But awesome, you know, being super descriptive with gore can be an
I just can't do it. And I have a good history with not being able to handle that stuff. So yeah, the Witch series though had a lot of that sort of history, you know, piece to it that without so much of the graphicness of the vampire series. So I tried really hard, but I just couldn't cut it. So yeah, I mean, books are powerful too. Yeah. And like I used to read a lot of those books, and then I would listen to music at the same time. And so I really, when I hear a song, I think about like that book I was reading for certain things. Yeah. You know,
I listen to music while I read too, so that's funny.
Yeah. And I think there's a certain time in our lives when things have a much deeper impression on us than at other times. Like as we get older, you know, we're constantly moving and thinking about the future versus like when you're younger and you're in that moment and the impressions just come. They're just so much deeper and they last us our lifetime. Yeah. Yeah. So.
Damn, All right.
So we'll be starting our book club and our music store and our
I'm
bookstore.
super excited, man. I love that. You know, I love getting to hear other people's thoughts about the stories that, you know, we're all reading. Like I said, because like the music production, reading is a very solitary thing. Yeah. And I'm a very social person, and so it's just like I like getting to be able to discuss the literature, and then also getting put on to new things. Because I'm definitely going to be checking out the Witch series by Anne Rice. Yeah. I like that the merger of the fiction style of writing, but a fact and historically based context. Yeah.
There's a lot of research that goes into it, you know, so.
You got to respect
You got to get it right, too, man. Right? Yeah.
We're going to go into our second track by Wilco. Tell me about You and I.
I mean, You and I is definitely a romantic song, so it's definitely a love song, and so those always make us feel good.
Yes.
So we'll hear that, and it's a good one. You should check it out.
Let's check it out, y'all. This is You and I by Wilco, and we'll be right back with more of Katie Clendaniel. Keep it locked.